Luck was definitely on this woman's side. In this video, you can see her signing for a package delivery at her doorstep when suddenly, she darts forward, raising her arms out to catch her dog that had fallen out of the window. If she had been a second too late or had positioned herself wrong, then that dog may not be alive today.
Oh my god, get back! Oh my god! Oh my god!
When your neighbor tells you to check your doorbell footage at 3 a.m., you're probably expecting something scary. Fortunately for this person, the only thing captured on their doorbell was a man vibing outside. He seems to be smiling and laughing at himself, having the time of his life, and thankfully not causing any sort of disturbance. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing justice served right there on the spot. This porch pirate, which means someone who steals packages, was leaving the doorstep of yet another victim when he's stopped almost immediately by a police cruiser who watched him commit the crime. This is one way to get out of a car. Rather than waiting for the vehicle to stop, this doorbell footage shows a man jumping out of a moving car, tumbling onto the street. He manages to get back up again, but the video cuts before showing the aftermath of his stumble out of the car. Whether it was intentional, a dare, or an accident, no one knows for sure. But at least they caught this footage of what went down during the fact. Sometimes, you don't even need to know someone to make an enemy out of them. This woman stumbles onto this unsuspecting couple's front porch and starts to make a mess, attempting to tear down their compass. After an unsuccessful attempt, she leaves, all while cursing and talking to herself incomprehensibly. While some people may talk out their differing opinions, others go to further lengths to showcase it. This person runs up to a random house after seeing a Black Lives Matter flag and begins to try and burn it. Unfortunately for them, the fire doesn't seem to be catching, so instead, he snatches the flag from its pole and runs away afterwards. It's one thing to have a one-off incident with a stranger at your door. It's another when they're your neighbor. In this doorbell footage, the homeowner's neighbor is clearly incoherent, likely on some sort of substance, and is making a disturbance outside the door. The woman walks up and down the stairs several times, yelling to herself in a rant, and eventually ends up right at the door, knocking on it and asking if the person inside had spoken to her. At the end, the owner ends up opening the door, requesting that she stop disturbing them by knocking, and the video ends.
Can I help you?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Did y'all say something?
No.
Okay.
Please don't knock on the door.
The moment the video starts, you can see just how frantic the woman in front of the camera is. Since the footage is captured in black and white, it might be hard to tell how severe the situation actually is. But if you look to the left of the frame, you can see an illuminating glow that lights up most of the driveway. That's because the house that this doorbell camera belongs to was actually on fire, with the unsuspecting house owners inside, completely unaware of the flames that were slowly engulfing their home. This stranger, despite the growing fire, went out of her way to warn the family inside, the desperation obvious in both her face and voice. which makes you wonder what might have happened if she had been just a few minutes too late to the scene.
I'm so sorry. Your garage is on fire. Oh.
A couple rushes to the door of a house that has a balcony that is caught on fire. The two had been driving past when they noticed the flames, and they go to the door even though the fire was burning right beside them to notify the homeowners of what was going on.
Your house is on fire!
What?
Your house is on fire here!
What?
Your house!
But people don't just warn you if it's your house on fire. This kind man ran up to his neighbor's house in the middle of the night to warn them of a fire that was happening next door to them. He even stays to help the woman with the baby, taking her to safety as the mother scrambles back inside to grab a few necessities.
Can I help you?
The house next door to you is on fire! Your house is almost on fire!
Okay, thank you.
There's all sorts of devices out there nowadays that can get any kind of information from you. Whether it's credit card info or a key fob, these devices are readily accessible on the internet for the public to buy. Which makes this doorbell footage all the more concerning. The woman approaches the door with a device in hand. She rang the doorbell, tapped something on the device, and ran away. Now, whether this was to prepare for a home invasion or just a prank, nothing's sure. But with how advanced technology has gotten, it wouldn't be surprising if this was much more than just an odd ding-dong ditch.
Camera recording.
What would you do if you woke up in the middle of the night to an old lady standing on your doorstep holding a knife? How would you feel? In this video, you can see an elderly woman creep her way towards the door of this house, holding a weapon in her hand. As you continue to watch her sway left and right at the doorstep, you can clearly tell that something isn't right here. It seems like her mind isn't in the right place. In fact, she seems more confused than anything as she continues to fidget on the spot, occasionally looking down at the knife in her hand as if she were wondering why it was even there. Although the homeowners don't seem to be in any immediate danger because of the woman, this seems to be a clear case of someone losing their mind. This is perhaps the most disturbing part of it all, because we're watching a person's slow descent into confusion and then madness, as she ponders what her initial motivations were to show up at this house unannounced, and with a knife in hand. Every parent's worst nightmare is seeing their kids in danger, and in this particular clip, that's exactly what's happening. In the footage, a home invasion is happening and the parents can do nothing but watch as their children are being forced to lie down on the floor as their home is ransacked by robbers. It's all the more terrifying as the robbers take one of the children away, leading her into another room and out of sight of the camera. The parents are helpless at this point, watching this all go down. All they can do is try and talk back to them through the camera, issuing a warning that the cops are on their way, knowing that they themselves are incapable of doing anything else since they are so far away.
Hey, who's in my house? I got you on camera.
The cops are on the way.
The cops are on their way. My neighbors are there. They're calling the cops right now. Y'all better get out of my house. Y'all better get out of my house now.
If two strangers came up to your door in the middle of the night saying that their car broke down, would you believe them? It seems like one of the oldest tricks in the book, but sometimes the kindness of people's hearts has them act before they think. In this doorbell camera footage, a man and a woman approach the door, with the woman claiming that their car had broken down. Instead of speaking to them through the Ring doorbell though, the homeowner decides to talk to them face to face instead. Seeing this as an opportunity, the man quickly flashes his weapon and attempts to get the door open. But fortunately for the homeowner, they were quicker and were able to keep the door locked before the two could get inside. The two then quickly run away, knowing that their plan failed, but of course, not without getting their faces caught on recording.
Hello, do y'all have a phone I can use? My car broke down and y'all's the only one that got a light on.
We don't.
You don't?
Sorry.
On November 28, 2019, a little girl rushed to the door of a stranger's house, banging on the door and repeatedly ringing the doorbell. It was late into the night, and she kept looking behind her as she desperately begs for the person behind the door to open it. This footage is chilling for one of two reasons, both of which involve some sort of danger. You can see in the video that she keeps turning around as if looking for someone who is either chasing after her or making demands of her. Because there was likely two outcomes to this incident, if the girl truly needed help, then there was no telling what sort of situation she was in. Whether she was kidnapped or running away from home, it's clear that she's in a state of distress and needs to be rescued. But on the other hand, this can also be a strategy in home invasions. Using a little girl as bait is a common tactic when it comes to robberies, as robbers will storm the house the moment the homeowner opens the door. So regardless of what the reality of the situation was, something was very clearly wrong. And it makes you wonder about a moral dilemma. Do you let the girl in and risk your own life?
Help, please. Our dog is... Please help!
In this distressing doorbell footage, a woman is crying desperately for help. Her shrill screams can be heard from far, far away. The homeowners were so concerned that they even left the house, walking outside to check on the commotion. But unfortunately for the woman, it didn't seem like the help that she needed was coming. Because although there were people outside, no one seemed to be making any move to help her or call the police. And what's more disturbing is that she continues to scream for help. You can hear a car engine roaring, and soon enough, you see that same car which has the girl inside, speeding away from the scene. Her screams seem to get further and further away as the car drives off, which leaves you wondering what exactly is going to happen to her and if everything could have been prevented if someone had just stepped in. Life happens fast, and your whole world can fall apart in just a split second if you act too late, and this video is a prime example of that. In this ring footage, you can see a couple coming home from what seems to be a trip to the grocery store. The man enters the house first, with his wife following shortly after him. But what they didn't know is that there was a third person involved who had been watching their every move and waiting for the chance to strike. Just seconds after the wife gets the door open, you can see a masked man dressed in all black darting into the frame, holding a gun in his hand. The woman was quick on her feet, running inside and immediately slamming the door shut behind her the moment she saw the robber coming towards her. And thankfully she did, because she was able to close the door in his face without getting hurt. The robber, now knowing that he's missed his shot, takes notice of the ring camera and decides to try to smash it, hoping to rid any evidence of his robbery attempt. Similarly, in this clip, you can see a woman carrying her child back to the house. In the background of the video, there is a masked individual following her a few paces behind. The moment she gets inside, you can see him running towards the door, trying to follow her inside. But she had already locked the door, leaving him stranded and without a plan B. another case of robbery gone wrong, this man shoots himself in the leg as he and his partner try to break into a house. In the video, you can see the two of them attempting to frantically kick down the door. But in the process, a bullet is fired into one of their legs. The two then run away, likely to get medical treatment.
Oh, dude,
There's something so sinister about a crazed person who seems willing to do anything to get what they want. And this video shows it. In this doorbell footage, a man is seen racing towards the door in an attempt to follow the woman who lives inside. He tries to kick the door open before realizing that his efforts are useless. Now watch as he goes through the 5 stages of grief when he realizes he's been caught red-handed for his crimes. You can see him pacing back and forth, running his hands through his hair as he discovers that he is being filmed on the Ring camera. Near the end, he tries to rip the doorbell off the wall, and he even picks up a tool of some sort off the ground, using it as a weapon to try and break the camera. What makes this whole scenario even more disturbing is that just moments before, the man had just violently attacked the woman who lived in the house, leaving her face bloodied and bruised after jumping her randomly in the street. This doorbell camera caught some serious disturbing footage. At first, nothing seems to be wrong. It's just a normal day in a suburban neighborhood, and in the left corner, you can see a blue car passing by. But in the blink of an eye, something happens. A plane comes tumbling down, crashing directly into the car, making such an impact that you can't even see the vehicle on the frame anymore. As the plane makes contact with the ground, it bursts into flames, setting the entire street ablaze. In the footage, you can't see any signs of survivors. The car and its occupants are nowhere to be seen, and all that you can see of the plane is the fire, as well as some of the shattered parts that are littered around the neighborhood. The video cuts out just a few seconds after the crash, leaving you to wonder what could have happened to the people in the plane and in the car and whether they're okay. Whether it was something paranormal or just an insect off camera, this doorbell footage shows an eerie clip which features some unexplained noises. The two bangs seem to have no real source, but you can see something moving around in the bottom right corner. But whether it's a bug or something else, no one knows for sure. In another instance of unexplained activity, this clip shows you a blue light flashing occasionally right by the steps towards the door. There doesn't seem to be anything else in the frame, but the little blue light seems to just be flying around, similar to a ghost orb of sorts, and no one really knows why it's there or what it really means. Similarly, this woman captures some strange footage on her Ring camera. You can see 2 dots floating around in the clip with no source or explanation. Some can argue that it might be just the light playing tricks, or it could be something more fantastical like a fairy, or even a ghost. It's not every day that the police randomly show up at your door, especially in what looks like to be in the middle of the night. It might have you thinking about all sorts of scenarios and every bad thing you've ever done that might have led up to this moment. But in this particular case, it had nothing to do with the homeowner himself, and everything to do with his brother-in-law. The look of sheer guilt on the brother's face is enough to tell you that he's made a mistake. And what was it? He climbed the neighbor's fence, thinking that it was his brother-in-law's house. Naturally, the neighbors were probably frightened by the stranger scaling their fence and called the cops on him as a result. Thankfully, nothing bad came out of the situation, but I'm sure the homeowner got a bit of a scare seeing so many cops at his door.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Oh, perfect. Is your brother-in-law supposed to be here?
Yes, he is.
Okay,
Did my
cool.
neighbors call? I forgot to tell them.
No, there's some sort of mix-up. I'm sure he'll tell you the full story, but if no one's in any trouble, then we'll let him come on in.
Arachnophobiacs, beware. This next clip is probably going to scare you a bit, because the uninvited guest at the house isn't a person this time, it's a gigantic spider. In the camera footage, you can see the spider slowly inching into view, before crawling all over the camera, its body taking up most of the entire frame as it climbs. Although the spider itself is probably harmless, as it looks like nothing more than a jumping spider, the angle at which it's being filmed definitely makes it look more menacing than it is. In this video, the doorbell camera captures a few masked individuals scoping out the driveway, pulling on the door handles to see if any of them would open. After realizing that both cars were locked, they walked away in hopes of finding another victim. When a stranger shows up at your house in the middle of the night, robbery is likely their main motivation. However, this case of robbery is one that you never would have expected. Instead of scoping out the house and looking for a way in, the man decides that all he really wants is the Ring camera attached to the door. As he picks the camera off the wall, you can see the camera angle change following his journey away from the house. The camera continues rolling for a few more seconds before the footage ultimately stops, which likely means that he went out of range. Before any home invasion, the robbers need to case the house, and this video is a clear example of what that looks like. You can see a man in a puffer jacket approach the house, check the doorknobs, and take pictures of both the door and the windows. For a while, he even steps out of frame to go around the house, likely checking for any vulnerabilities that he can note down for when the robbery comes.